Lydia, written by Professor Scry and narrated by Jack Wynters. Chapter 1. "Please pass me the peas," Megan said, and before the bowl was in her hand she added excitedly, "We have good news, Emily." Emily frowned at her mom. Andrew, Emily's father, was sitting at the head of the table, grinning from ear to ear, looking no less smug than the cat that had got the cream. Emily cringed inside and thought, "Smo, Pooh's nose. Ah, good news." She instinctively knew that it was going to be bad news. And why is it that bad news always comes on the same day as Mom serves peas? Emily glared accusingly at the pile of peas on her plate, picked up her fork and stabbed at them, lining up the green balls on the tines. Still clutching the fork, she glanced at her father, hoping that he would jump in and say something, anything, other than just sit there. Better yet, Emily thought, let's remove the peas from all the plates, leave the room, come back to the dinner table, and start all over, without the blasted peas. Emily knew very well the routine. Megan, Emily's mum, would deliver the news in her silly, joyful way, and then Andrew, Emily's dad, would slide in to butter Emily up, doing his best to convince her that it was something that they had always wanted, how all their hopes and dreams were falling into place, and life was going to be oh so wonderful. Emily knew without a doubt that she was about to hear something life-changing, and wondered why her mother was always pretending the things were more exciting than they actually were. Emily had been around the block more than once, in fact, dozens of blocks, which had her recalling the many houses that they had lived in. Warning bells rang inside her head as she thought, "Peas, peas, peas." Fearing the worst, she remained silent. Her mom interrupted her thoughts. "We're moving to our new house in 3 weeks." Megan spoke as if it was the highlight of the year, or perhaps their lifetimes, and no one could have sounded jollier. Emily's jaw immediately dropped. Was this a part of some long-term plan that her parents had been talking about for years? And if so, why had Emily been excluded from the decision-making? This was the first she had heard of there being a move, any move, developing in the minds of the Walker family. She looked accusingly at her father, who was obviously not disturbed by the situation, and she wondered why she was always the last to know anything and everything. She felt a family meeting should have taken place. It would not have taken a great deal of planning. After all, she was an only child. It would have required but a simple announcement. "Okay, we're having a family meeting," which could have been done any time, and everything would have been quite easily hashed over. In fact, maybe now would be the time to have that discussion, rather than making some life-altering announcement. Emily hated being excluded. She would have been less shocked had Granny B suddenly planned on coming to live with them, or that a new little sister or brother was increasing the family size. Emily looked pointedly at her mother's tummy, wishing there to be a new child, rather than having to make a move, another move. She quickly closed her mouth and pursed her lips, fearful that she might say something that she would regret, then took a few deep breaths and closed her eyes tightly, squeezing back tears, counting the number of times that they had already moved. Now she had to face another move. Suddenly the whole of it seemed so ridiculous. Then, for some wild reason, she conjured up an image of her playing the concertina, and the entire family was wearing gypsy clothes. To top it all off, she saw them living in a colourfully painted wagon. Great! Now we're gypsies and fortune-tellers, a travelling band of musicians and dancers living in a stupid wagon. She groaned very loudly. It would not be so bad if they were simply moving down the street, if she could go to the same school, or at least one nearby. Then maybe, just maybe, she could keep the same friends. She thought of Tess, her very best friend, and wondered if some evil force was at work.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?